Hey everybody, it's Richard with the Hunter-Gatherer Society, and it's time to go stealth camping with the new e-bike. So I've got a hammock that hasn't been out of the bag. I have an e-bike that's never been on a stealth camp, and I found a beautiful location. If you can see it, the sounds behind me, and we're going to set up so we can sit and enjoy that right to the evening. So I got to get going here and get this spot clear and ready. So let's get to it. Well, not a bad view from the hammock, I gotta tell you. Well, by God, we made it. That was quite the adventure. So I don't know how many miles I put on the bike total. I'd say probably about 20 today. I did some riding, some exploring down further. It is hunting season here in Washington, so I did encounter hunters a few miles up the trail. Looked like they were doing a push in the area, and so I turned around and got the heck out of there. So I actually had blaze orange on the bike just for a little extra protection. I found this little spot overlooking the sound. It's fantastic. So you can't see it now as we're sitting, but I am overlooking the whole sound. And earlier there was a big ship going by. Very, very awesome. And the weather was supposed to rain tomorrow. It looks like that has kind of been pulled back. Not supposed to really rain, maybe a 20% chance, so not a lot of chance of rain. It is going to be a little breezy tonight, 10 to 15. But I think I am kind of hunkered into this corner. I think the wind is coming this way, so I don't think it's going to really affect me where I'm sitting. But man, I'll tell you, I haven't set up camp in a long time, so I'm a little out of practice, to be perfectly honest with you. And this gear too is new, so I have my hammock set up that I've always used, and it still is in great shape. I still can use it. But I had bought this hammock as a backup, man, like a year and a half ago. You know, as long as we're sitting here talking, I hope you don't mind. But it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's time for a happy hour. Step 1, setting up the camp, and as Steve would say, step 2. Cheers, my friends. So anyway, this hammock has not been out of the package, nor has the tarp in a year and a half. It just hasn't been out. I haven't done any hammock camping, you know, with everything going on with the move and focusing on foraging. I just haven't gotten out and done it. So tonight was the night. I almost backed out a couple times, and I just decided, you know what, the heck with it, I'm gonna make it happen. I probably don't need the mosquito netting here tonight. However, I am seeing some mosquitoes when I kick in the ferns, and it's just better safe than sorry. So I'm gonna have it up. If I've got it set up so that I can put it on. I mean, it keeps the spiders away, it keeps mosquitoes away, moths. Just lets you sleep nice and sound. I know people sleep right on the ground. God bless them. I'm not quite that good. So I like my my creature comforts. Pounding around those mountain bike trails, the back is sore today. I can't deny it. So I'm gonna enjoy relaxing in the hammock. Got one of my mushroom books with. I'll do some reading today, and I'm just gonna sit and enjoy this beach. It's right now, it's about 4 o'clock. I'm sitting here watching a sailboat go by. Can't beat that. It's about 4 o'clock. So I've got a couple more hours until the sun sets, and so I might kick around, do a little foraging. Might even go for one more ride. We'll see. I might just relax and do a little reading. But the ride here was fantastic. The bike is handling these logging roads really, really well. So today I had to plow through this high grass, rough ground. There was no trail here. This was we just went off road. And the problem with that is with all these ferns, you can't see what's underneath you. And so there's logs and sticks, and so I took it real slow. I didn't ride, I just walked it and used the power. It handled well. All-wheel drive is really nice because I can just bump that throttle and just kind of nudge it through everything. At one point, a stick disconnected the power to the display. It took me a little bit to figure out what was going on. I started getting all sorts of red warnings. I thought, oh my God, I just broke it on its second big ride. But no harm, no foul. That just needed to be plugged back in, and then it worked just fine. So the hills here there's a lot of good hills on this trail, and that thing is loaded down with gear. And of course, with me, it handled it really, really well. Again, I'm going uphill. When I got tired, I was doing, you know, power only. It was doing 10, 12 miles per hour. I've also got an underquilt with me this trip. I've never used one, so I've always wanted one. I finally picked one up, and normally I use just a foam sleeping pad. I put it in the hammock with me, and you know, that works well. It reflects the heat. I know I've been out in some cool evenings, and as long as that pad is underneath you, it's super warm. The problem, of course, if you've hammock camped before, you know that pad slips around, and if it comes out from underneath you, it's very uncomfortable, and it's very cold. And so I finally got a quilt for it to go underneath. So we're going to try that tonight. We're going to hope it works, because I did not bring the pad. I had plenty of gear, so but I'm sure it will. I'm sure that'll work just fine. You know, that just traps some air in here, stays warm, keeps the breeze off you. And again, the whole idea is to keep something underneath you, because otherwise the breeze will just suck the heat right out of you. So it's really important. The first time I ever hammock camped, luckily it was warm, but I didn't have a pad. I didn't have anything underneath me. And I'll tell you, even at like 65 degrees in the evening, that breeze, man, it would suck the air or the warmth right out from you. So super important that you have something underneath you, whether it's a pad, whether it's a quilt. Just having a blanket does not cut it. So even just having a sleeping bag, because you're compressing that sleeping bag when you're laying on it, so it takes all that insulative effect out of it. So really important that you have something underneath it. I brought a lot of gear on this trip because I haven't used any of it in so long. I wanted to get it out here, and I wanted to test it. I'm not sure what the weather is going to be, so I brought a couple different coats. I brought some food. I've got some venison and wild mushroom stroganoff that I made. I can heat that up on the cook stove. I've also got, you know, an apple, some nuts, some crackers. I've got some sardines. I'm only going to be out one night tonight, so I don't need a lot of food. That will do me just fine. And you know, since I'm out here camping, I don't have too many of those. I brought 2 of those, and that's it. So, you know, the nice thing about that is even if I have 2 and a couple hours from now, you know, maybe the wind gets a little too much or a storm blows in, it's not going to matter. I can get the heck out of here. So tarp is interesting. It comes with its own kind of stuff sack, but the stuff sack is attached and it's on the outside of the tarp. Kind of doesn't make any sense. I think it's just a water sack if it does rain. So I'm going to play around with that and see if I'm missing something. But as of right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But it's a pretty decent tarp and it seems pretty quiet. So that's a good thing. The new hammock, liking it so far. There's a couple tweaks I would make. So this is just I think I paid $35 for this hammock. It's made in China. Those of you that have seen my hammock videos before, I have never spent over $100 on a hammock. And I have slept in Alaska and Minnesota and Florida. I've slept all over the country in my hammocks, and they've worked just fine for me. I've slept in thunderstorms with lightning and wind and never had a problem. The big thing is making sure that you got good straps. So I've got hammock straps so it doesn't damage the trees. The other thing is with this, it's just got kind of a, I don't know, some kind of double nylon loop that goes through the end of the hammock and then that hooks to your straps. I'll probably replace that with maybe a piece of heavy rope or something like that, just something real durable. But other than that, it seems pretty sturdy. Seems to be holding up real well. The mosquito netting has the single loop. My other hammock has the double loop. I don't feel that they work any better, just more work for me to do. So I went with the single again this time, but we'll try it out tonight and we'll see what happens. So you never know. Man, just watching these boats go by, absolutely beautiful. That's why I chose this spot. It wasn't as far back as I was going to go, but the view is just stunning. And I want something that's easy to get out of if I get in trouble. Now, why would I get in trouble? The gear could fail, right? This is brand new gear. Haven't used it before, so it could fail. So, I mean, I'm logging trails out of here. A little bit of rough trail, but other than that, I mean, it's not that bad to get out of here. So, easy peasy. Now, you guys saw me I have my machete with me. The machete is mounted to the bike. I use that just when I get into some trails that need the blackberries cut back. I normally don't cut anything where I'm camping. I try to just leave it as natural as possible. However, if you've ever went off trail in Washington, you know that the blackberries are everywhere. So even in this fern area, there's a ton of blackberry. I got cut up just a little bit, got some nice welts on the arm. Just trying to get set up. So all I did was cut the hammock area because I also don't want that stuff damaging the hammock or the netting if it falls, my coats, anything like that. So I just took the machete to the ferns just underneath where I'm at and probably only about 4 feet wide. They'll grow back next year. If a storm came through and knocked a branch down on them, they'd die and then they'd grow back anyway. So no harm, no fall, no trees were cut down. No damage done to the trees, just ferns, and I cleared some sticks out of here and some blackberry bramble out of here. But I just wanted to bring that up because normally I try real hard not to damage anything. There is a spot just down here, just 30 yards from here, that I probably wouldn't have had to do any of that. The problem with that spot is it's down lower. So this spot that I'm in right now is kind of on this little hump, which gives me that view of the sound. And although I would be able to see the sound from that spot, it's probably, if I had to guess, it's 8 feet to 10 feet lower. And I'd see a lot more of the trees. Right now I'm looking out, there's a white boat out there going across. I can see the buoys. So it's a great view. And that's really what I was going for with this spot. So fantastic. Happy hour is pretty simple tonight. I was going to bring my wine sack, but the wine sack, the only wine I had was some port, And although port's good, it's more of a dessert wine and it's pretty strong. And so I didn't want to, I've been kind of saving that port. It's from a local winery. Been saving it for something, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be something special, but just the right moment, I guess. And I didn't want anything that strong out here. So I just went with Rainier, a couple of Rainiers for happy hour, Washington beer, right? And that works really well. It's not as strong. And, you know, I like to have a happy hour when I camp, but you do want to be careful because, like I said, if you get into a predicament here, have a bear encounter or get in, a storm sweeps in. Again, I'm right on the ocean, so a storm could sweep in unexpectedly, and you want to be prepared for that. So you don't want to be all twisted up out here if you can help that. So safety first, right? So anyway, I'm going to sit here, and the sun is shining down on these golden yellow trees. You know, it's fall here, so I'm going to just sit and relax and enjoy it thoroughly. So I'll see you after a bit. So I saw a comment, it was on a forum the other day, and it was somebody new to camping, and they were asking, they said, I'm really bored. What do you do when you're camping? And I thought that was interesting. I've spent my whole life in the woods. I was camping out in the woods behind my house as a kid. I was probably camping when I was 11 or 12 years old out in the woods. I would build forts out of sticks in Minnesota in the snow and sleep in those. And I would go out by a creek and put up a tent, and I'd catch trout and cook them on a fire by the time I was probably 13. And so that, to me, it's just a natural thing. But it was interesting to see that comment, like, what do you do? I'm bored. Like, there's nothing to do. I'm out in the woods. They were probably at a campground. And there's nothing to do. And I think that's an interesting thought, right? Like, why do I do this? Why does anyone do this? It's not for the YouTube videos. It's oh, my camera's tipping. Careful now. Don't settle down now. It's, you know, the YouTube videos are a hobby. They're kind of fun. I want to share it with you guys. I enjoy the interaction with you guys. I get the comments and get messages, and I think it's awesome. But you know, there's no money produced out of that currently. That's not what it's for, right? So I'm out here camping because I love camping, and I love being out here in the woods. Now, if I'm quiet, you can't hear a sound. There's occasionally a plane that goes by, and that's it. You can't hear anything. I love that. I mean, you can hear birds singing, crickets, things like that. But, I mean, other than that, there's no car noise here. There's no other people. There's no neighbor's dog barking. It is quiet. And tonight will be super quiet. There could be coyotes out here, so I might hear them. But, you know, I'm in the woods. There's a logging trail, so I can go for a hike. I could take the e-bike, go for another ride. But other than that, there's nothing to do here. So, number one, I think it's important to understand that coming out here is about getting away from that. It's about taking a deep breath. It's about training yourself that you don't need to be on your phone constantly. You don't need to have a video game. You don't need to have that constant entertainment. And I think that's really important to understand that. So that's number one of, you know, what to expect when you come out here, especially if you're new to camping, because there's not a whole lot to do. Number two, you know, what do you do, right? So I have a book with me. I have a mushroom identification guide. I'll do some reading in that, some research. I like to do that now and again to compare what I've seen in the woods that I didn't bring back. So I see a lot of mushrooms, take photos of a lot of mushrooms. I don't take them all back to try to identify them. And so I like to sometimes go through that and try to identify those and just read up on things. Hike, of course, you can hike. Of course, with the e-bike, we can do that. But really, it's more about relaxing. Take a nap, you know, take a siesta. I did a video in Florida, that's a hammock video, and I'll try to remember to put a link in the description. But in that video, I talk about the art of doing nothing. I'm laying in my hammock for like an hour or so. I'm watching, you know, birds fly by. It's quiet. I'm out in the Everglades. It's just fantastic, and it's refreshing. It's hard at first when you're new to it and you're used to that constant stimulation from phones and games and TV and radio. It's gonna be hard, right? You're gonna feel like you're going nuts. It's important to push through that, because when you get through that and you start training yourself that it's okay not to have all that noise, all that entertainment, all that just distraction, you're able to take a deep breath and just enjoy this. Just sit and watch the boats and watch the birds. And if you know, sometimes you see animals. Of course, I can forage here, do a little foraging, do a little hiking, but just not have that constant interaction with digital things is super important. Of course, I video, but you know, that's a percentage of the time. Most of the time that camera's not on. I'm just hanging out, right? So it's really important when you're out here to understand that there isn't a lot to do. We come out here to get away from all that, to not do, frankly, to not do much of anything other than relax and let a breath out. Excuse me, take the stress of the week away and recharge our batteries for the next week. And you'd be amazed, once you're able to do that, how much it does charge your batteries for the week to come. So just my thoughts on being bored out here. If you're used to it, you're not bored. You're enjoying it. You're at peace. If you're new to it, it might freak you out a little bit, but push through it. It's so worth it. Once you get through it, once you get settled in with the idea of the quiet and of not having to go and do all the time, it is really, really cleansing. So I hope you're able to do that. Those of you listening that are brand new, I'm telling you, man, it's kind of life-changing. It's so worth it. So that's all I got to say about that. The other thing that I hear a lot on the forums is about nighttime, right? People say, man, I couldn't be out there at night, right? I'd be freaked out. You're out in the middle of the woods, there's bears, coyotes, wolves, who knows what's out there, right? You're all by yourself, maybe there's a Bigfoot, you know, I don't know. But I gotta tell you, I've been doing this a long time. I have never had a bad encounter. I feel like I should knock on wood. I've never had a bad encounter at night in the woods. I did in Florida, and this is why I have a bug net, right? In Florida, I'm in my hammock. I knew it wasn't gonna rain that night, so I left the tarp off. I left it down, didn't put it up. And so I just got the bug netting up, because of course in Florida, that's almost a given. You have to have that. And again, I like it. And at some point in the evening, something fell onto the bug netting. And it was loud and it freaked me out. Now I might have been half asleep or even asleep at the time, so it might have been amplified by that. But I'm telling you, man, I was laying there and all of a sudden, thump, and I thought, what? That scared the crap out of me, or startled me. I wouldn't say scared, startled me. So I don't know if it was a big spider or if it was a mouse, or I mean, I have no idea what it was. But had that fallen on me, on my chest or on my head, I mean, I'd have lost my crap, right? I mean, it's dark out. I don't know what time of night it was, but it's the middle of the night, and man, whack, something lands on you. So I like the bug netting. I don't ever sleep out in the woods without it. I just find that it gives me a better night's sleep. I don't have any issues with bugs. Nothing falls on me in the evening. So, but I've never had any encounters with wildlife. I've never had any bad incidents. I have been out when the storms got pretty wicked wild and I hadn't set up my gear right. And to be honest with you, the way I've got this set up right now, I don't think it would withstand a good storm. I didn't have a lot of places to tie things down. I'm on kind of a, like I said, a hump, a ridge, and there's heavy ferns, heavy ground cover here, branches and things like that, you know, blackberries. It was tough to get like stakes in or tie things down. And so I don't think this would withstand a storm. Now, if it was gonna storm, then I would pull these corners down. I'd put them in the ground right here where I've cleared a little bit and basically just make a V over me. That would carry me through the storm. So I know how to do it if it would happen, but I'm not expecting that. Like I said, maybe 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, but I'm in the woods here, so I'm not expecting that to affect me. So my thing about the dark and how to handle that is just make sure you bring lights. I brought a headlamp fully charged, and I also brought another one that has batteries in it as a backup. So I have 2 lights plus my phone. I have 2 chargers, so I have charger packs. One is solar powered, one is not, but they're both fully charged. Those will charge my phone and my cameras for days. So I got 3 lights that I can use out here if I got in trouble. Now, I know the way out. It's logging roads. It'd be an interesting walk out of here if I had to go, especially in a storm. But I could do it, and I'd be on logging roads. So I'm usually camping somewhere that I can get out of fairly easily. When I do this type of camping, there are times when I hike in miles and miles and miles, and then it just is what it is. You know, in the middle of a storm, you just got to hunker down, you know, get your tarp pulled down tight around you, hunker down and wait for the storm to pass. That's all you can do. But most of the time when I'm doing the stealth camping, like in Florida, the videos I did down there, I mean, I'm right off of a trail. I can hop on that trail, you know, a couple mile hike out. This one's a little longer. This is probably, well, it's a ways. I don't know how far it is, but it's quite a ways. But either way, I could hike it out if I had to. So just my thoughts on the nighttime, being out here by yourself. Got to enjoy this view some more. See the mountain poking up back there. White capped. I mean, there's all these mountains, but then there's one white cap sitting up. My wife would know which one that was. I don't so much. Well, that's the view. This is the wooded area. So I'm kind of on a clear cut here. You can see this is old logged land. And then I'm on the, just right on the edge of the uncut land. Kind of some mixed trees in here. So I'll give you a little tour of the camp. Let's get up in there. There's the hammock and a new quilt. And I've got this tarp set up. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to need it. There is about a 20% chance of rain in the morning, but other than that, I don't think it's really supposed to rain much. And that's the new quilt set up and hammock. And there's the e-bike. That's its garage for the evening. Again, not supposed to rain, so it should be fine. They'll be all right. If they get wet, they're made to ride in the rain. And it's pretty well covered by trees. I'll put my raincoat maybe over it and just strap it down just for some extra protection. But no, other than that, man, it's fantastic. Look at that view. Can't beat that. As long as we're on the kind of running along the lines of someone new or someone fairly new to all of this, one of the things I hear a lot, get asked a lot too, is like, what about gear? What do you need for gear? And it can be really confusing. I told you I've never spent more than $100 on a hammock. There are hammock campers out there just flabbergasted by that, offended maybe, right? You can spend thousands of dollars on a hammock. And don't get me wrong, those are fabulous hammocks, and they have them where they go into snakeskin sleeves. They have, you know, just different setups as far as the way that they strap to the trees, and some wonderful innovations in these hammocks. And feel free to spend that if you want, because they are high quality, and they have features they're well beyond a $35 hammock, right? However, I got to tell you, again, I've hammock camped in Florida, Alaska, Minnesota, and now Washington, and they've served me very well. They're not as comfortable. I do know that. But there's some tweaks you can make. You'll notice this, maybe you noticed when I did the tour, this end is higher. That's where my head will go. It's higher than my feet, so it keeps me at a little bit of a slant, right? That is intentional, and not a lot, just a little bit. So if I slide, I'm going to slide a little bit that way, but I'm only going to slide so much. It's also definitely more than 10 feet between these, or a solid 10 feet at least between these trees. That makes a big difference. The longer you have, you want to be at least 10 feet, 11 feet maybe. Just stretches that hammock out. You can get it a little flatter. Makes a big difference. But I've never spent that. My point being is if you have the money, spend it. It's great. If you don't have the money, don't let that be a barrier for you to, not get in hammock camping. Buy a $35, $55, $75, $95 hammock, get something that you want. Again, I like to have the bug netting. You can flip it over if you don't want to use it. It's just nice to have, and most of them, it just comes with it. The quilts you can get pretty inexpensively. You can spend hundreds of dollars on them. I did not spend that. We'll see tonight what that does, but I did not spend that on this one. And the tarps, $35 maybe for a relatively decent one. Again, you can spend hundreds, and they're better quality. They're going to be quieter, but I have never spent that, and they've served me very well when I camp. So don't be afraid. Don't think you have to have a $2,000 or $1,000 or even $500 hammock in order to get in hammock camping. You don't. You can get by with 30. This is probably, well, after shipping and everything, it's probably $55. So, but I think the hammock itself was $35. So that's all you need. It's parachute hammock. That's all you need to get started. Now, talking about gear, so what do you need, right? I'm telling you what, man, you want to be dry, right? So make sure you have some rain gear. It doesn't have to be expensive rain gear, but rain gear, right? Top and bottom. Waterproof shoes, right? It's just so important. And have the tarp, right? Even if you don't use it, have it. Because, man, if a storm comes in, you do not want to be laying out getting soaking wet. It gets cold at night, and if you get wet, that's hypothermia, and that can be dangerous. So good rainproof tops and clothing, very, very important. The other thing is at night you want to sleep, right? So during the day, this is easy. I could just kick back here in a t-shirt, take a nap. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, when it's about 49 degrees, man, you better have good gear. Because I'll tell you what, and I've done it, it is miserable at 2 o'clock in the morning when you can't sleep and it's cold and you don't have the appropriate gear. So buy a good sleeping bag. Now, that's a little tricky. So I used a cheap sleeping bag for several years. The problem with that is they're very bulky. They don't compact down like this one that I have now does. This one we spent some money on this one. This is a couple $100 sleeping bag. And I'll tell you why, because again, I just said, I don't spend a lot of money on my hammock and stuff. The sleeping bag is so critical. And I use it for a lot of things other than just the hammock camping. And so it's going to last me quite a few years, and I want it to be good. But I'm telling you, man, at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're out here, you want to be dry and you want to be warm, because it's a long night if you're not. And I'll tell you, you just, unless you're stubborn like me, you might not ever do it again because it's miserable. So something dry, rain clothes, good tarp, or just any type. I used a green, plastic tarp for a couple of years. Worked just fine. They're noisy, but it worked just fine and kept the rain off me. So, and then a good sleeping bag, something to be warm in. Now, if you're in Florida, you don't need that, right? I mean, I slept out with a thin little $20 sleeping bag. But even there, in the wintertime, it got cold at night, and man, I got chilly, and that makes for a long night. So good sleeping bag and waterproof gear is very important if you're going to do this, because you want to enjoy it if you're going to do it. The other thing that I like to have, and this is an optional thing, but I have a couple different charging packs. I have one that my wife got me that's solar powered, and I have two others that are not. But I like to have 1 or 2 charging packs with me. Typically one is fine. I have the GoPro with me now, and I've got rechargeable headlamps, and I've got my phone, so I actually have 2 with me. I probably wouldn't need to, but just in case, I bring 2, and it really doesn't take up much extra space. But get a good charging pack, because just like being warm and being dry, you want to be safe. And here I have service. It's not a lot, but I do have some service. So if I had to call out or I for sure know I can text out because I did text earlier. I could let someone know, right where I am, to get out of here if I got in trouble. If, when you're walking through this brush, you could snap an ankle in a hurry. Now you're in trouble, and you want to be able. Now there are places you're going to go that you don't have service, so be super careful. Watch where you walk. Take careful steps. Maybe have a little, some type of radio. I know the kayakers use radios where they can call if they get in trouble, so that might be an option. But have some way to communicate, because I'm over 50. And it's even more important for me. But I'm telling you, even in my 20s and 30s, man, I used to go out and plow trails. I used to grouse hunt miles and miles of brush. And I went down a couple times and thought, man, if I'd have broke a leg, nobody had ever found me there if I didn't have a way to call out. So, something to charge. And then your cell phone if you have service, or some type of radio or something you can call out if you need to, is a good recommendation. And they're not expensive. Nowadays, you can get a radio for $100 or something. Probably find them used for less than that. So, and I don't have one, by the way. I just use my cell phone. I'm just saying that some way to communicate, really important. So, very important. That's about it, really. I got a hodgepodge of other gear, of course. I got a couple little cooking pans, just cheap ones. Got them at a Goodwill. Got my cooking stove. I got a $6 one I got from China, I think. That hooks up to gas. It works just great. I have the, I can't think of the name of it now, the boil, the cup. You guys have seen it if you watch some of my videos where I've foraged and cooked on, on trail. But, God, I can't think of the name of that. Anyway, I do have a couple cook stoves, is the point. But I didn't have that when I started. I just had a real basic one, just a little, a little mini burner, a little gas, that's all I had. A couple pans, I got a couple plastic silverware. I got, a couple things to stir. Do not use plastic silverware to stir your boiling food. That makes a bad deal in your food. So warps them pretty quick. So have something with you for that. But other than that, I don't have a lot of gear. I brought more today because, again, you saw the bike kind of stacked up. But again, I'm just trying things out. I actually had a whole extra setup. I could have set up a tent with an air mattress, because there's a spot that I could have set that up on the trail. Now, I'm glad I didn't, because this trail actually is used. There are some mountain bikers that use it, and earlier a four-wheeler went by, so I didn't really want to be right on the trail. Most people won't notice me back in here. And but I did bring it just in case. I was going to maybe set up and just see if it, everything was still intact. But I don't use a tent anymore. The hammock is just the way to go for me. So the moral of all this story is, don't be afraid to start small. Get a couple of real key things. Good. Stay dry, stay warm, and have light. Because, boy, I tell you what, you're back in here trying to get out of here without light, you're in trouble. So have multiple pieces of light. Have a good flashlight, a headlamp, whatever it is. Don't just rely on your cell phone. Other than that, you don't need much. I started out with very little, and I've just added little things to it over the years. I've got my machete. I've got actually a different machete, a nicer one actually that I don't bring with. I use that for more specific things. But I've added all that stuff on over the course of time. So just start with those basics. Biggest thing is, if you're just getting into it, or if you're inexperienced, start close to home. Have somewhere where you can get home. Maybe you can go to a campground and rent it. Find one that's got a couple trees you can sling a hammock in between, but you got bathrooms, and you got your car parked there. I've done that many times. It's a fantastic way to hammock camp, and if you get in trouble, you can get the heck out easy peasy, or go sleep in your truck, or whatever you want to do. But again, don't be afraid to take a few runs at a campground before you get real serious about it. Biggest thing I have to say is, make sure you get out and you do it, because it is rewarding. And get past that part where you're bored, because then you can just sit and enjoy the view and the scenery and the nature and the peace and tranquility. No politics out here. So, all right, I'm gonna finish my beer and enjoy this view. I'll talk to you later. Okay, it's getting time for dinner. It gets dark about 6:30 this time of year. Well, there goes my gas. Oh boy. Oh yeah, I got enough. I was from in there. I thought, boy, I hope I got enough. That'd be, luckily I brought other food, so it wouldn't be critical, but it would be, you know, one of those things like, yeah, probably should have checked that. So now, earlier I mentioned the little stove, so we're going to use that today. Just a tiny little thing, and the little burners fold out, screws right onto the can. Ah, shush. Make sure you get it on there. You don't want any leaking. So I've got it sitting just on a tiny, thin little cutting board. I found this online, or actually, no, I found this in a little like cooking store. It's fantastic. It is super, super light, but it just gives me something to eat on or to cut on, or in this case, to set my little stove on. That's perfect. We're going to use the big can today. Handy dandy spoon. I'll use the little pan just kind of to set things in while I'm cooking here. Clear out some of the brabble. Limited space out here, folks. Limited space. Still really frozen, but still can break it up. Turn that down just a hair. So again, this is a wild, shaggy paracel mushroom stroganoff with venison, yellow bell peppers, onion, and of course, seasoned flavor. I froze it. I made it a couple days ago and then froze it, which worked out perfectly. But it should make for a nice dinner. Sometimes I cook while I'm out here, but I wanted this to be super simple because, man, first one, making sure the gear works, I just wanted it to be nice and easy. Camping bull, pork, again, very limited space in which to work, but making progress. Some of that heat in. All right, I'm gonna work on this. I'll be bringing it back in a bit. Oh, she's getting steamy now. That's what we want. Good and steamy. Yeah, that's what we want. Mm-hmm. Good. I'm gonna let it go just a hair longer. Oh, tastes good. pasta dishes always taste better the second day. Don't know why, but they always do. Tight space, tight space. Guess we're gonna stay down there. Perfect. Now, I think what we're gonna do, move the gas. And put the bowl up there. Woo! Pan's hot. So again, shaggy paracel mushrooms that I harvested. Video is coming out for that pretty soon. Great video. God, I found so many shaggy paracels. That'll be coming out here very soon. And then venison and yellow pepper, onion, and of course seasonings to make for a wonderful dish. Okay, there's that. There's that. There's that. Of course, it's tangled up and everything. There. That's good. No. Perfect. All right, time for dinner. Man, I love cooking things that you've harvested yourself. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. The venison, I didn't harvest. That actually came from the store, but one of our local stores carries some venison, and I love adding it to my wild dishes. I hunted most of my life for deer. I'd like to get back into it at some point, but for right now, I'm not doing it. And but I mean, I just love that addition to, especially when you're doing wild mushrooms or wild greens. I think it makes a wonderful addition. And venison is something you either like or you don't. My wife doesn't care for it. I love it. I just think it's super healthy, and the unique flavor it has, and you can do so much with it. So it's something I enjoy thoroughly. But I think things taste better when you've harvested at least a portion of it. And I've done videos where everything that I've cooked, I foraged. Most of the time though, I'm adding foraged ingredients to what I have. So my trail, lunches, I've got lentils or pasta, maybe some rice, and I'm adding wild greens or mushrooms to that. And just supplementing, adding it in. Breakfast, add it with eggs. It's so good. It's probably closing in on 5:45 right now. It's starting to get into dusk. I believe sunset's about 6:30, 6:20. So we're not too far away from shutting the camera down and hitting the hay and getting some sleep. Now, I've got a light with me. I'll do some reading. I'm not going to bed at 6:30, but out here I go to bed pretty early. At home I'm up late, but out here I go to bed pretty early. But the sunset comes early, so I'll be up with the sunset. And I'm hoping, I can't remember which way this is, I'm hoping that sunset comes up on the view, because I'm pretty sure the sunrise comes up on that view. I'm pretty sure the sunset's behind me tonight. Matter of fact, I know it is. It's that direction. So the sunrise will come there. We'll see. We'll see what happens when the sun comes over the mountains. Not exactly sure. It's a little cloudy tonight, so it's hard to tell. But hopefully in the morning we get a nice sunrise. If not, still be a great place to wake up. All right, I'm gonna finish my dinner and get everything buttoned up for the night. Get the e-bike under the garage here. See you in a bit. Well, the clouds haven't moved in too much, so it's still a gorgeous night. There's a few moving in. The wind is held down, although the breeze is starting to pick back up now, so we'll see what the evening does. But so far, it's been pretty good. Camp is ready. The e-bike I brought underneath the tarp. Again, they can handle rain, but there's no sense taking any extra chances, so I'll keep a little bit of the moisture off of it over, even if it does end up raining. That'll just keep a little bit of the moisture off of it. So just a little extra security. Probably not necessary, but you know, rather be safe than sorry. And sleeping bags out. Man, what a great dinner. What a great day. I'm tired though, I'll tell you. It is 6:30, I suppose, 6:45, closing on 7 o'clock. Sun setting, it's getting dark, and just sitting here admiring the sound. Been a great day, man. Great ride. The gear all works. I like it when the gear works. Dinner was fabulous. Had a couple happy hours. You can't go wrong with that. So it's going to be getting dark here probably in the next 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. And I'll probably hunker down with my headlamp, do some reading, and then probably get an early, head to bed early. Early to bed, early to rise probably, because I'll be up with the sunrise. So far, the rain has held, and it's supposed to hold in the morning. They had talked about rain tomorrow starting about 8 a.m., but they've kind of pulled that back. A little later in the morning, there's maybe a 40% chance, but only briefly. Then it seems to back off, so I'm hoping that'll get pulled out overnight as well. The wind has held, although it's getting a little breezy here in the evening, so we'll see what happens. But right now, it's been good. A little bit of breeze picking up, but not much. So yeah, so I think I'm gonna do a little reading and then get an early night's sleep, and then tomorrow I'll be breaking all this stuff down and heading back home. So anyway, thanks for coming along, hanging out. It's been a good night, good day, and I'll see you in the morning. See all the bats? It's pretty cool. There comes one. And another one. And another one. Well, good morning, everybody. What a great morning. What a great night and a great morning to follow it up. The wind held off. It is starting to pick up now. You might be able to hear it on the video. You can hear it almost sounds like rain on the tarp. It's actually tree debris as the breeze picks up. It is coming the way I expected, so I'm pretty sheltered in here, but these trees, you know, they tend to drop stuff, so I don't want to be out here if it gets too windy. And there is a small craft advisory on the sound this morning starting about 8 o'clock, so I believe it is going to get a little gusty. So this morning's plan, I'm going to go ahead and break camp and head out. All the gear performed really well. I think I have everything I need. The new hammock did well. All the zippers worked. I didn't fall, that's a good thing. So, you know, nothing broke overnight. The bug netting worked really well. That was pretty cool with the bats last night, wasn't it? It's kind of neat in the camera. It almost looks like a tail, you know, as they fly by. But I was laying here just kind of looking out over the sound, man. All of a sudden, they just started buzz bombing around. So that's good to keep the bugs away. But yeah, I think it's time to start breaking things down and have an apple for breakfast and then call it a trip. So head back home and get all this gear put away. Heading to Minnesota next week, more for family, but I'm hoping maybe to get, it's gonna be mid-October in Minnesota, but they've had a lot of warm weather, so there might be some foraging to do. So I'll try to get out in the woods at least once while I'm there and see if I can find anything. This time of year up there, puffballs are usually pretty good. The birch boletes and aspen boletes are usually out. So it's possible I might be able to find something. But anyway, thanks a lot for tagging along. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I know I enjoyed being out here and relaxing between the trees. So this is Richard with the Hunter Gatherer Society, and hopefully next time I see you, we're all out doing something wild.